Hi, my name is Vivi Stutz. I am a licensed mental health counselor in my private practice, Phoenix Rises Counseling. I just want to point out, since we're talking about domestic violence or detecting abuse, my eyes, I did that. I arrived in California. I turned pink, blonde, puffy lips, and burned off or bruised eyes. And I had my eyelids burned off yesterday because the sagging bothered me. So no, no abuse here. But what I want to bring up is using artificial intelligence to detect abuse in relationships. And that is a very controversial subject among us therapist folks, and for good reason. And I'm just going to explain it very simply. Imagine you're being sued by Amazon for all of your personal assets. Would you turn to ChatGPT for legal advice? I mean, you might use it just to get a few ideas, but if you want to win the lawsuit against Amazon or Rite Aid or I have no idea. I have no idea. Just somebody. I hope I'm not offending anyone. Uh, but if you were going to win this lawsuit against a powerful company, you wouldn't just go with ChatGPT into the courtroom and try to win the lawsuit. You would get a real lawyer. And so it's the same with mental health. Artificial intelligence cannot diagnose or detect abuse or diagnose conditions or disorders the way a real person can. So you can use it as a supportive tool, but never ever use it as your personal therapist. It doesn't work. And maybe I'll make another video about why I don't think that will ever work. But just for now, I want to focus on how you can use artificial intelligence. I heard about it as ChatGPT, but it can be a validation tool. Because when we are in an abusive relationship, we usually know. We usually know. But then there's another part or parts of us, these naggy voices in the back of your head that say, yeah, but. And they cause a lot of self-doubt. Or we might not know what we're looking at and be unsure. Or there might be a part that says, yeah, but they were so nice to me afterwards, and they're not always like that. And maybe I provoked it. Maybe I'm rude, and I could have said that more nicely. And they were having a bad day, and I should have left them alone. And maybe I'm just somebody who deserves this. Whatever. Just this but nagging voice in the back of our head that causes the self doubt, even in a situation where we know it doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel right. And so in these situations only, I suggest using something like ChatGPT or others. I'm not so big on computers. And the way you can use it is that you type in the situation you're in, things that happened, events that have happened in the past, what the other person did, what they said to you. Just describe it like you're telling a friend. And then ask the artificial intelligence, can you tell me if this is abuse? Can you tell me if I'm overreacting? And can you tell me if there are logical fears? Or if my fears are logical, if I think if I'm leaving, maybe this person is really going to go through the roof and maybe it could be dangerous. Can you tell me, ChatGPT or whatever, if these are logical fears? And artificial intelligence, because it's just a freaking robot, it will just give you some information. that can validate what you already know. And another problem with detecting abuse in relationship is like when we know, or when we're trying to figure it out and we look for validation, we usually turn to our friends. But what our friends say is harder to believe sometimes than what a machine says, because the machine doesn't have any emotions, it's not invested in anything. The machine doesn't dislike your boyfriend, girlfriend, polyamorous group, whatever it is. It's just a machine. And I just heard that today, and I was so inspired by it, that it's so neutral, that it's a great self-validating tool. And again, promise that you understand it will never replace the advice of a mental health professional. It cannot diagnose artificial intelligence. It makes mistakes. We all know that. You wouldn't hand your lawsuit over to ChatGPT, so don't do that to your health or your mental health either. It's not your therapist, because it can't be. And if you're afraid, if there's a real threat in your relationship, or you are afraid, or you have a sense that there can be violence or it could escalate, get out of the house. Get out, leave the house. Call 911. Or if your life is in immediate danger and violence could escalate, get out, call the police. These are not the scenarios I'm talking about, not the real emergency crisis moments. I'm talking about using artificial intelligence just for self-validation when you're exploring. What am I experiencing? And is this real? And to soothe or quieten your self-doubts. So to have an extra form of validation. So I think that's a really great idea. Also, ChatGPT apparently will offer to make a safety plan for you. And I think that, and again, it's artificial intelligence, it's very limited, it's still being programmed, has a long ways to go. But if this is the only way you can create a safety plan, or maybe start making one, if you're in a situation where you are afraid, and the only source you can turn to, or you feel comfortable turning to, is artificial intelligence, then use it. Then start making your safety plan. And again, you know, so really you will want to turn to mental health professionals, doctors. They can identify abuse and advise you. The police can too, but we know that a lot of people hesitate to interact with the police, so not everyone feels comfortable with that. So if no other source is available, I would even use it for a safety plan. What to do if you need to leave the house very quickly because violence might escalate. So if you have no other source, you can use it. But my main suggestion here is to use it as a self-validation tool to describe scenarios and ask it, is this abusive? And why is it abusive? And am I overreacting? Is to have it as a validation tool. Please keep yourself safe. In an emergency, please leave the house. Call 911. Get the help of friends. Ask your doctor, a mental health professional, and use the resource only for informational purposes, knowing that it's not the complete picture. but it can be so helpful. And I just heard that today and I thought that's a brilliant idea. That's really cool. Keep yourself safe. Please know that you're important, and please know that nothing in the world justifies you being in any kind of abusive situation. There's nothing you can possibly do to cause it. It cannot be your fault. I mean, imagine trying to get the Dalai Lama to throw furniture at you. You probably can't do that. So there's nothing you can do to cause another person to get violent or really upset or go out of control. That's the other person's stuff. And there is no scenario in the world where you would deserve to be treated that way. It's abuse. It's hurtful. It's a crime. So take good care of yourself and stay safe.